Hello and welcome back to the Journey Beyond Yourself Summit. Today we have an absolute treat for you here. We have Debora Wayne. Now, Debora is full of wisdom and experience and practical things to help us with pain, physical pain, pain that's there from traumas and psychological pain. Debora is helping thousands of people across the world, and I am so happy that she's taken some time out of her busy day to be with us. So thank you, Debora, and welcome.
Hello. Well, thank you for having me. It's just a thrill to be here. Very honored to be part of this. And thank you for inviting me.
Oh, bless you. Debora, you are the founder and CEO of the International Chronic Pain Institute. You are a world-renowned energy healer whose leading-edge method, known as high-speed healing, has helped tens of thousands across the world to rapidly release chronic pain, but also depression and anxiety, trauma. I know that you've branched out and worked with eating disorders, binge eating, chronic fatigue, insomnia, and other chronic conditions. And you do all of your work, you've developed this system that doesn't involve taking any medication, doing endless therapies, or one of my personal favorites, giving up any food. So I can't wait to get into this. I'm often told dairy, you need to give up dairy. So I'm so interested. You are a highly sought after speaker, so we're blessed to have you. Number one best-selling author of Why Do I Still Hurt? An excellent book. You've earned degrees and certifications in psychology, hypnotherapy, chemical dependency counseling, and 35 plus years teaching and practicing meditation. Interestingly, I think you were a recognized former glass artist, a former professional dancer, certified yoga instructor, and you lead the only practitioner training worldwide in your method, high speed healing. So, Debora, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. There's so much I want to ask you about. Let's start with, I have two questions and I'm going to let you choose how you answer them. So the number one is, from glass former dancer to the work you do now, there is a journey. And I'd love for you to tell us how you got to where you are now. And then let's dive into what on earth it is. So,
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it does sound odd, but and in hindsight, I look back and everything that I have done was preparing me for the work I do today. I had no clue at the time. I started dance training at the age of 4 years old. I had no idea. I was actually learning about energy and space and to feel into the space around me and to have eyes without seeing and to really become aware of subtle energy. I had no idea that's what I was doing. And that led later in life to the visual arts, both ceramics, handmade paper, and then glass. And as I worked with these different art forms, it was a very internal, quiet chunk of years where literally I would go for days, sometimes weeks without speaking to anyone else. I was also meditating. I was quietly listening. Even when I worked in my studio, I did not have music going in the background. It was a silent type of retreat in a way where I became very, very sensitive and aware to energy and to movement and to breathing and to the inner wisdom that will come up if you get quiet enough to listen. And I had no clue. This was refining my sensitivities to eventually work in the field around the body in a similar way that I worked with glass. And I just, it's fascinating to me how it's so easy to think everything's random when in hindsight you can see there's definitely one thing leads to the next and an evolution is taking place. And I, for many, many years, had known that I was interested in healing and spiritual healing, energy healing, but for years, I was too afraid to really come out of the closet in a big way because I came from an allopathic medical family. Show me the data.
Uh-huh.
Show me the double blind studies. I had no studies. I had no data except internal awareness and these experiences that kept happening during meditation and my own health hell. And my own health hell really helped me seek solutions that require, because I had to find a way to be healthy with no drugs,
Yeah.
and to get out of pain without pills
Yeah.
or without binge eating. So, all of it fits together like a puzzle that seemed like scattered all over for many years. And now it's like, wow, I couldn't have orchestrated that if I had tried.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that now you can look back and see those links and timeliness as well. I can't help but think everything has its time because, when you're saying now in your studio, you didn't have the radio on, we probably would have had a podcast or an interview or one of the social media channels we were talking about earlier on.
Yeah.
It's not as easy to just go into that silence. So I love that. Thank you. So you had your own chronic health conditions. Your parents, of course, with their background, would have tried everything they could to help you. Where did you get to, and how did that get you searching for other things?
Well, I'll take you back to the pivotal moment. It was over 36 years ago now, and I woke up on a regular go to work Monday morning. But that morning, I was lying flat on the floor of my walk in closet, and I couldn't get dressed. I could not stop crying. And I was in so much pain, I was unable to put my clothes on and go to work. And I was out of ideas. I was out of the ability to fake it one more day and just wish and hope it was going to change and get up and power through and pretend everything was just fine. It wasn't fine. It had not been fine for a long time. And but I had been searching first conventional medicine and then natural medicine,
Mhm.
and nothing was working, and very little was showing up on medical tests. So I kept trying to figure it out, and nothing helped. And then I kept trying to just pretend it would just go away. And I numbed out the pain with pills, with Ben and Jerry ice cream, pints of Ben and Jerry's. Ben and Jerry and I had a long relationship. And, this just went on for far too long, and it was really going to kill me. Alcohol, I couldn't sleep at night. I had terrible insomnia, anxiety, depression, hair was falling out, ulcers, digestive drama, pain in my joints and muscles, and PMS so bad I had to lay down 3 days a month, just lie there flat. That's where I was at. And it got so bad, I was actually having suicidal thoughts because I couldn't stand the level of pain.
Yeah.
So that day on my closet floor, I screamed out to God, the universe that I didn't really think was out there. And I said, if there is anything out there, help me. I need help. It was a prayer of true desperation. And I had a really incredible, spiritually transformative experience that I wasn't expecting. And this amazing sense of peace and unconditional love enveloped me, filled the closet. I immediately knew, I just knew everything was going to be okay. I stopped crying. I felt a deep inner peace that I had never felt before. And I got up, went in the other room, picked up the phone, and told the truth to somebody and said, I need help. And I started this healing journey that was outside the box of anything else I had tried before. And it involved, the key piece was the meditation, which I had learned to do earlier, but I had stopped.
Mhm.
And through meditation again, there were other components, but meditation was the key ingredient where I had a year of profound experiences that were what I would call spiritual in nature. And I was just guided and given wisdom and shown my purpose and my mission, and the fact that everything's energy and vibrational information. I could see this. I could see the walls vibrating. I knew that I became aware the body was not solid. It was made of particles of light and information and energy. And I could feel life force flowing through my hands, and knew that it would be used for healing myself and then other people. But back to my, my upbringing, I went, oh God, they're going to think I've lost my mind. What am I going to do? So I didn't tell anyone for quite some time. But I worked through, the hardest work is between your left and right ear. And I started to clear that garbage out over time. And eventually was able to put my stake in the ground and say, look, this is phenomenal. This is the future. This is leading edge. And it would be selfish of me to hold this back because people were having dramatic healings. And so finally I got over myself and just started doing what I came here to do. And I've been doing it ever since and been able to synthesize down the key ingredients, the key areas. There are three that when I work with people, so they don't have to spend 30 years and, a million processes and all these, I distilled it down to keep it simple for people. And that's how I've been able to help people in 150 countries to date, all virtually. And some of them I never speak to, never talk to, never meet, never touch anybody. It's really quite extraordinary. And it's been a very exciting time in my life.
Yes. So what's the time period between having that moment and what a moment, what an awakening?
Yeah.
And when you reached the phone and you got help, did you then enter therapy, or was this all downloaded to you, in your moments of silence and meditation? How did you begin to heal yourself?
Great question. First I went to this psychologist office and I told him I wanted to get a divorce and I was too afraid to do that. That's what I thought my problem was. I had no clue it was so much deeper and so much more going on. But he spotted me and he said, "No, that may seem like an issue to you, but until you really go deep inside and you start to recognize that you're using drugs and alcohol and food and blame game to try to fix yourself, thinking it's out there when it's really in here." And
Yeah.
I didn't like him
Yeah, of
at
course.
all. I didn't hear that, right? So he pointed me in that direction. Now, I didn't see him very long, but I saw him enough to get the point, get the message. But I did start meditating right away. And I was very fortunate because this doesn't happen to a lot of people rapidly. But within a month or two, I had that experience. I had the burning bush that I needed in order to go, oh my God, there's something bigger than Deborah in the universe. And I need to pay attention because something I don't understand heard me, felt me, communicated with me, helped me, is there for me. And so I became very, very curious. And I had a year of constant guidance via meditation. So then I started even getting the guidance, for example, to go to the library. I was just curious. Back then we went to the library. So I did, and a book would literally fly off the shelf.
Uh-huh.
And there would be exactly what I needed. It was some kind of teaching on spiritual healing and some older, era gone by, some other famous healer of some type. And I started having people show up and books show up and workshops, and I was invited places. And I remember going to some of these workshops and looking around going, what are these people? Like, what are they feeling and sensing? I don't know what they're talking about, but I was meant to be there. And I was obviously getting something through osmosis because it took my conscious mind quite a while to catch up with what was really happening. And but it was continuous from within about a month of crashing and burning. I've never looked back. And it was a continuous learning for quite a few years. And then I went back to school and I tried to tiptoe around what I knew I was here to do because I was still afraid of what people would think and how I'd be judged.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent quite a few years getting these degrees and certificates and doing some of that work because I was afraid to come out of the closet until I became a yoga teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And that changed everything because that's when I finally recognized this is ancient wisdom,
Yes.
thousands of years old. This is not something I'm imagining going crazy. This is ancient.
Yes.
And so I embraced it more and I started offering sessions and doing, more retreats and trainings and things. And it just took off from there. And I've never, and my ability has also morphed and increased over time as well. So it's just been a wild, interesting, fun journey.
It has, and thank you for sharing. And even that little bit, because I'm always, I'm always aware of what we can take to be practicable to people, and
Yeah.
just always sort of watching. And even the little bit that you've just said,
Yeah.
that you tiptoed around your true calling, and you
Yep.
got lots of certificates to back up what you thought, to try and
Right.
validate what
Yes.
you knew to
Exactly.
be true. I
Exactly.
think so many people are doing that, and will resonate with that. And
Yeah.
whether they're validating with certificates or promotions at work, but they're not
Yes.
in the right place at work, or having more relationships,
Yeah.
or whatever that validation is, to
Yeah.
escape from that true calling. So I just think that's a beautiful part of your journey too.
I hear that from clients constantly. They feel something big inside of them. They feel an urge to express in a bigger way, but they say they don't know what it is.
Uh-huh.
Well, in fact, they do know what it is, but they're terrified to actually follow it because it doesn't fit the square box
Yeah.
that they were taught to live in. And they're scrunched up in there and they're uncomfortable, like I was,
Yeah.
and they're afraid to break out, and they need a mentor to give them the support and the accountability for a period of time till they really see the freedom, and that they are here for that very reason, that they're afraid, the very thing they're afraid to express is the very reason they're here.
Right, right.
So
And that
it's so
freedom,
beautiful.
freedom is an
It's,
important
it's
word.
actually why people are in pain too.
Yes.
Oh my God, I've seen so many people diagnosed with things like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue,
Mm,
arthritis, thyroid issues, digestive thing, and it's related to not expressing who they really are, shutting down their voice, not being seen,
mm,
not being heard,
mm.
and shoving that pain inside
Yeah.
because they're not being who they're meant to be. They're not following their blueprint.
Yes. Yes. It reminds me of the quote from Rumi, and I won't be able to probably remember it accurately, but it's about, we're not seeking love, we're seeking to remove the obstacles that we've created
Yes,
to love. It's
that
like
is,
yeah. I want to ask you, because you've mentioned all these different conditions. So I want to ask you, where did you start? Did you start by knowing that you could say heal a pain that's undiagnosed or doesn't, you're not getting anywhere with medically because that was your journey, and then you branched out into these other health conditions? Or did you just start using the process, and as a result all these people have healed from different conditions? But before you answer that question, I just want to ask, how did your mum and dad and people around you accept you when you came out?
well, it took quite some time. Um, it took quite some time actually, but my mother is highly sensitive and had a lot of issues, and so I couldn't bear not, sharing it with her, and she felt immediately. In fact, I'll never, it's funny, her reaction the very first time I worked on her, she opened her eyes, she looked at me, and she said, if anyone can't feel this, it's because they're dead. She said, this is profound. And she had a lot of pain, so it was, and a lot of anxiety, so it was helpful for her. My
Yeah.
father was watching and not really interested for quite some time. Finally, he allowed me to work on him one time.
Mm,
Actually, it turned into more than once, but one time where he actually requested it.
uh-huh.
And what was fascinating was that at the end of the session, he kept opening his eyes as well, looking like, because I
Mm,
knew he was feeling something, and he was wondering, where is she standing? Because I'm feeling it. Am I imagining that or not? And at the end, when he opened his eyes and I looked at him and said, what did you experience? He said, you really helped me. And I said, really? In what way? And he said, spiritually. Now, if you knew my father, he would, that would be the last thing you would ever expect him to say. And he did change, and he developed a sense of peace over some things that had been really disturbing him and causing pain for him for many, many years after that. And my father he had severe chronic pain, severe, and he died with it. And but he became a raving fan by the end of his life. So that was beautiful. The rest of my family, they still haven't come around,
Yeah.
but I'm saving them a seat.
Yeah, of course. And I'm thank you for answering that. It's a personal question, but for people as well who are fearful,
Yeah,
it's nice to know there's closure. And I mean, what more validation than your mum saying to you
yeah.
what she did? What more validation, and your father coming around to you say thank you.
And my mother, she would have me there constantly, 24/7, working on. I mean, she loves how it feels. And what I discovered about my mother that I didn't realize is how highly intuitive she is and how sensitive to energy and other people's energy. And she really she could be a healing practitioner
Mm.
if she had ever embraced that. She really, we're very much alike, and I didn't recognize that part of her until all of this came out.
Yeah. And I think that's a really pertinent point, that when we do truly express ourselves, it allows us to get closer with those that we love, because
Yeah.
we're not hiding anymore. We're our true essences. So of course there's going to be that kind of healing and beneficial to your mum, I'm imagining, became her true self as well through it.
Much more. She's much more expressive of her true self now. Yes.
Amazing. So
Yeah.
let's get into the conditions.
All right. So, in the beginning, um, I didn't know exactly. I spent about 2 years experimenting and I would just offer it to anyone, especially when I taught yoga retreats and workshops. And I did it in conjunction. And I started noticing that right away from the very first session that I ever did, people had very dramatic healing experiences, particularly people with chronic pain and with emotional pain.
Mm,
So I noticed right away people with fibromyalgia and arthritis were saying, Deborah, I haven't had a day in 15, 20 years without pain, and I'm 100% pain free. And that was in their first session. And I went, oh my God, pay attention, Deborah. So I kept offering, and, through word of mouth, anyone with any that they knew with any type of pain started showing up. And then people said, well, what about this and what about that? And I said, this isn't, you have to understand, this is not medical treatment. We're not treating symptoms, and it's not conventional. What this does is it works on you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, simultaneously. And it may even shift things in your life, like your finances and your romances, because everything's energy. Your energy is affecting everything, and everything's affecting you. It's a two-way communication. So I started recognizing lots of different people showing up for different reasons. And there was very little, if anything, that I noticed where it wasn't helping everyone.
mm,
So then I'm like, wow, okay. And for about 2 years, just everybody with also a wide range of problems were coming. And then over time, I actually became just fascinated and in love. I hate seeing people in pain and living on drugs when I know there's another way.
yeah.
So I became very passionate about really calling out to the people who have chronic pain, depression, anxiety, trauma. I started noticing that people with severe trauma and abuse and accidents and injuries, they were getting incredible results without re-triggering the trauma. And that's the big fear of people who know that they've been abused or have childhood trauma. They're afraid to go back and look at it because they don't want to feel it again. They
Yes.
don't want to muck around in there, particularly at home alone. So I started seeing how rapidly, with severe trauma, this was coming up, moving out. And not only that, not everyone, but a lot of people, they did it in observer mode. It was incredible. And what a relief. And then the people who did feel, they needed to learn to feel and to see that their feelings would release. It wasn't difficult. It wasn't going to kill them. It wasn't going to last forever. They weren't going to feel out of control like they were expecting. And so they became more masters of their emotional state. instead of being ruled by it and afraid of it.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And out of that came the book, Why Do I Still Hurt?
Yes, the book came later. I had had that book in me for so long and I just couldn't get it out. And finally, yeah, after I'd started working on people for quite some time, the book, I got the book finished. And um, yeah, and then by then I was more vocal about what I was doing and more, assertive in that regard and excited to let people know. And
Yeah,
it's just been up upward ever since then. Yeah.
because you went public. And so now you train others in your methods. So, and I know this is a difficult question because it's years and years of your work, but can you condense for us? Because I know everyone's saying, what is it? What's the healing process? So can you condense it for us? Because you give us an idea, the
Yeah.
sense of it.
So first of all, it's not a technique. People think, you're going to hold your hands here and touch there and do this and say the chant or whatever. No, it is not a technique. It's a state of consciousness that I help people learn to access and get themselves out of the way to become a quiet vessel. And because I do certain sensitivity exercises to get them more sensitive to the largest energy centers in the body, which are in the hands. But oftentimes I help them literally learn to become giant ears. They learn to listen with their whole body. They learn to feel and to sense and to hear and to see in a new way. And I teach them how to work in the field, listening with every fiber of their being, and to access healing frequencies that are the true live streaming, which are galactic. It's galactic live streaming, and we're able to bring that in and share that and just experience a multidimensional state of consciousness and become the mediator until the client can get there on their own.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. So you help you train people how to access, get into this state, to get into the consciousness, do it themselves.
Yes, my training is highly experiential. I don't talk at people very long. I lay the foundation with some concepts for the left brain to like quiet down, but then I get them right involved experientially. And usually by week 4 or 5 of the training, they're working on Zoom in real time with me there, working on a person before they even fully realize what they're doing, and they're getting results. And then I coach them in real time for a while, and then I let them loose and they start working on adults, children, animals, and learning in person, one-on-one. And then they learn distance healing with the others in the group, and then they can fly with distance healing as well. And by the end of the training, they are typically very aware that they're getting results. They still have questions, of course, and but they're ready to go. Some of them, I mean, they're just off and running. So
Because the thing is, once you're getting results, it doesn't matter if your analytical mind still wants answers to the question it seeks. If you're getting results, you've got more reinforcement to keep going.
Exactly. And everyone's, they want the results, they want confidence, but you don't get confidence until you get competence, and you don't feel competent until you practice. So you can't just sit there reading a book and listening to me talk and expect to feel confident or competent. So I get them doing it, learning by doing, and then I know all the questions they're going to ask, and I start answering those. And now it goes in because they actually have a frame of reference when they're working on people, and they see what I'm talking about visually that's happening with the people they're working with, and they go, oh, that's what she means. And they start to connect the dots, both left and right side of the brain.
So I'm going to ask you a question here because I can't help myself, but feel free. It might be too difficult. It might be not the right place to do it, but I'd love a taste. If you're able to and willing to, and I know it's a process, and I know that it's a process and it takes time. So perhaps it's not You're not able to do that, but if
No,
you could give us a taste, I'd love you to get
absolutely.
practical with us.
Love to do that. I do it all the time. I could do a short little demo for like 7 minutes or so. And you would be amazed how many people have healing results from a short little demo. So, and from even a recording,
Yes,
that you watch later, so
yes.
I'm more than happy to do that.
Oh, bless you. I did not ask Deborah that before. So thank you for your generosity in spirit, because I know it can work. I know it can work for people tuning in, because we're talking about accessing consciousness. So as
Yes.
long as we're willing and wanting, we can access it. So if you're listening to this recording and you want to experience it, you just know that it will work for you just as well as if you were sitting in front of Deborah now, which I have the honor to do.
And I'll say, if you're skeptical, that's fine. You have a right to be skeptical, and you don't have to understand one thing with your mind for this to work, and you don't have to believe in anything in particular for this to work. You just have to literally sit or lie down, and you can stop at any time if you want to, but chances are you're going to notice something.
Yeah.
So I won't say too much. I'm going to guide everyone in with my voice. Then I'm going to just work quietly for a couple minutes, and then I'll bring everyone out with my voice, and then I'll say a little bit more after, because I don't want to color their experience beforehand. Oh, I do want to say no driving. Do this only if you're in a safe place where you're sitting down, or if you're able to lie down, because I will share with you that many people, the body starts to flip and flop like a fish. And some people move a lot, and some people move a little, or some anywhere in between. Some people don't move at all. But I want you safe and, where you can sit or lie down comfortably. So find a place and close your beautiful eyes. And I'd like you to take a gentle breath in through your nose. Fill up, 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 and now open your mouth and let out a big sigh. And let go of everything you think you know about your health, your life, your body. And again, relax your low belly. And draw the breath from the low belly up into your beautiful heart area. And then open your mouth and let out a big sigh. And just let everything we've talked about go. And begin to notice as you take another deep breath and a big sigh out the mouth. Good. Just begin to notice now your inner experience. And as you continue to breathe, just breathe naturally and normally now, an easy, effortless breath, the way you normally breathe. And pay attention to your inner experience. And I want you to remember to let me do all the work. There's nothing for you to do. Don't try to help me, and do not try to clear your mind. I want you to allow anything and everything that comes up into your mind and body to be there. And I want you to just notice it without trying to change it, without trying to fix it or figure it out, and without labeling it as good or bad, right or wrong. Let it be there and just observe it. And even with your eyes closed, you may begin to notice that you start to see something, like colors, shapes, images, perhaps. You may or may not. There's no right or wrong. Whatever happens for you is perfect for you today. Now, your body may start to move involuntarily. So, if that happens, I want you to let your body move in any way it wants to. Or if you feel like moving at any time, let yourself be free to move in any way at any time. Now remember, even if it makes no sense, even if you don't understand with your mind what's happening, you can't block the healing. You cannot do it wrong. So just relax your mind about all this and observe what's happening. You may notice sensations in your body or around your body. Notice that if you do. You may notice pressure in your head. Notice that if you do. You're feeling the vibrational frequencies, the contrast to your normal vibration. So there's nothing wrong. Just notice the pressure if you even feel it. You may notice thoughts coming up, and I want you to let all the thoughts come up if they do. Even if there are things you don't want to be thinking about, just let them come up. That's part of the healing process. Notice if any emotions come up, and I want you to let them come up. Let yourself feel whatever feelings you begin to notice. It's just energy and it's moving out. Even if pain comes up, I want you to let the pain come up. It's just energy. And you're feeling the sensation as it's coming up and moving out. Notice what you notice without trying to change it, without trying to analyze it, without trying to stop it. Let it be there. Even if it seems like nothing is happening, that's okay too. It may get very quiet inside you. Or if you think you're imagining things and making it up, that's okay too. Just notice that you're thinking that. You cannot do it wrong, I promise. You may notice sounds of some kind, either inside or around you. Just notice if you do. You may notice a taste or a fragrance. You may have memories of some kind flash across your mind. Even if they make no sense, that's okay. Just notice them. Notice any feelings that come with them or thoughts. And just let it be there without trying to figure it out. No matter what's happening, just breathe and observe and allow everything to be just the way it is. Like you're at the movies and you're just laying back, watching the movie, listening and feeling, but you're not trying to change the movie. Now we're going to go together now into the silence just for maybe 2 minutes. And I'll be right here working on you quietly. And when it's time to come back, you'll hear my voice. You'll know it's time. It'll be very easy. And you may continue to drop deeper and deeper, feeling more and more relaxed. Just let that happen if it does. And observe your experience. And you'll hear my voice in a minute or two when it's time to return. Enjoy the experience in the silence. Now, very, very slowly now, become aware of the sound of my voice. And very, very slowly begin to notice all the sounds around you. And begin to deepen your breathing. And very, very slowly now, feel yourself becoming more alert, more awake, more aware, and staying very, very relaxed. And take a deep, long breath in and out now. Feel yourself becoming more alert, more awake, more aware as you take another breath in and out. And one more time, a beautiful new fresh breath in and a big sigh out of your mouth. And wiggle your fingers and toes and come all the way back now, wide awake, alert, and slowly opening your eyes, letting the light come back in. So, this is where people say, do I have to come back?
Absolutely. Yes. Oh, that was lovely.
It
Thank
looked
you.
like you were having an experience. What did you notice?
It's it was very easy to very quickly go into the expanse and the space.
Yes.
And even though I meditate a lot, you know, I'm in the middle of an interview
Yes.
and
Right.
I'm not in my usual space. So I'm probably more in
Mm-hmm.
my mind than I am when I go and meditate. So that was interesting. I just fell right in there. I also, I didn't sleep well last night and I had a headache.
Mm.
Just, you know, you don't need the backstory, but I drank a lot of coffee yesterday. And I think that might have kept me awake. But then when you're in that trying to sleep and not sleeping and
Yeah.
it wasn't a good place. So it was so nice to drop in. And when you said to allow the pain, I realized there was places in my head
Yes.
that are hurting, and you know my jaw.
Mm.
And at some point you said when you said to I can't remember what you said, but I became aware of the frequencies of the cells around my neck and my jaw and
Just
my eyes. And then my eyes did this curious thing, which I haven't experienced before with my eyes shut. You know, when your eyes are open and sometimes you have a little twitch in your eye, and you
yes.
usually
Yes.
people go, look, 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 can you see it? And you can't really see it.
Right.
I was aware that there was rapid eye movement beneath my lids.
So
And then,
this is very common. It's actually a sign of dropping into theta for people,
mm,
and even people who don't meditate. Like you said, they drop in very rapidly.
mm,
People who've never meditated, never take quiet time,
mm,
and this helps them get access to that state quickly. So, and you were feeling all of that.
mm,
Usually I see a lot of eye fluttering, but often people will feel the vibration internally instead, which is what with you
yeah.
happened. Yeah.
And it was fascinating because I realized it was, you know, it's hard to put into words, but that it was all interrelated with the,
Yes.
you know,
Well,
going in my head.
it's recalibrating the brain, the left, the right, the and a lot. I think the optic nerve. I don't know this for a fact because, but I'm going to take this into a research lab someday soon. I
Mm,
hope. But I'm sure the optic nerve is really has a lot to do with the recalibration,
mm,
and there's a lot happening in the brain for sure. So
mm,
I can even feel specific spots in if I'm working one on one in particular, and if I'm working with a group, people will tell me they feel certain areas of the brain So I'm not surprised with what you from yesterday, the coffee, the headache, the not sleeping. You got it all rearranged.
Mm. Yeah, it was beautiful. So thank you for doing that
Pleasure.
for us. We have it here now. I'm going to run through it again. Thank you, and I dropped you in the deep end. So thank you for your graciousness in accepting and your generosity. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Something that came up for me as a result
Yeah.
is let's talk about emotional
Yeah.
um, emotional aspect to pain. And I
Yeah.
suppose the way I approach it, but I'm interested in your approach, is
Yeah.
that every thought has an emotional component to it. So there's a thought, feeling, thinking, feeling loop. And
Thank
of
you.
course, but I'm interested to hear um your version of what's going on with our emotional body.
Yeah, absolutely. You have hit the nail on the head. This is the great misunderstanding that the physical body is the last place anything shows up. It starts in the subtle level of thought. The thoughts create an emotional reaction. The
Mm,
emotions generate more thoughts. The thoughts generate more emotions. And you go round and round the revolving door. And then people try to think harder, think more, Dr. Google to try to get out of that. And they are trapped in it.
yeah.
And not only that, we live in a world where the emphasis is on intellect and don't bring those feelings here. It's unprofessional. Big boys don't cry. Get over it. So we suppress the emotional energy, and emotions are emitting frequencies. And these frequencies are affecting the nervous system, the immune system. They are hormone disruptors. They affect your digestion, your sleep, your everything. And we're not talking about it. And even if we are, nobody knows what to do about it.
Yeah.
It's energy, and emotions are energy in motion. They're
Yeah.
supposed to be in motion, but when we try to stop them, resist them, deny them, medicate them, suppress them, eat them away, drink them away, sleep them off, shop them off, what we do is we guarantee they're going to get stuck and they're going to grow.
Yeah.
So this is a huge dilemma, huge.
Yeah.
And it's why we have an opioid crisis as well, because nobody wants to feel and they're terrified of feeling out of control.
Mhm.
They're afraid if they let these feelings come up, they'll never stop. And they won't be able to pay their bills and go to work. And so we got to keep that down. And then wonder why we're exhausted because it takes so much energy to hold emotions down. Everyone that I've ever worked with chronic fatigue has some piece of the puzzle where they are trying so desperately to hold down how they really feel that it's wearing them out.
Mm.
So it's, when I work with people, the ideal way that I work with people, not everyone's willing, but in my advanced program, I show them how to find and release these habits of thought that are
Mhm.
disturbing
Yes.
and literally they're destructive,
Yep.
and how to release those and change them, and then how to literally find where you store the emotional energy in your body
Mhm.
and help them get over the fear of feeling feelings and
Mhm.
learn how to release them. And when you have those two tools along with me working in your energy field, first of all, there's nowhere else to look.
Mhm.
There's nowhere else to go. It's here, or in the field, or all of the above, because they're all interconnected.
Yeah.
And this is the freedom that everyone's looking for, because you can't just do one of those pieces of the puzzle and be a master of your health or your life. Something's going to go awry or have a temporary fix or not be addressed at all. This is why people don't heal. It's why I wrote my book.
Yeah.
It's why I prefer not to just do the energy healing. I prefer to teach people the tools they need to be a
Yeah.
master, so they're not just feeling like a victim of everything their whole life. And that's the greatest freedom that there is. And back to your question, the power of thoughts and emotions is as real as electricity.
Uh-huh.
When you flip that switch, the lights are coming on. but you don't recognize how powerful 24/7 your electricity is happening as well. And you're actually trying to stop most of the time the very thing that would benefit you the most, that because you haven't learned to use it properly. And it's the key. It's the key that unlocks everything. And so I really want to impress upon people that everything is energy, including your thoughts and your emotions. And if you start to change that, change those, the body must change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because your body's just a concept you're holding in your thoughts, and then you fuel it up with the emotional reaction to it. But you're holding in mind the concept of your body,
Yes.
and all the life experiences that you go through that you don't digest. You wonder why you have digestive disorders. You wonder why, things are showing up in your body. You're not digesting life. You're carrying the pain of life. But it's all changeable,
Yeah.
and it can change like that.
Yes.
That's the beauty.
Yes. And you don't have to relive, go there and talk about the trauma over and over and over. You don't have to for it to go. So I love, yeah, absolutely. And I love that you said it's the ultimate, I don't know if you did say this, but it's the ultimate freedom in my words too, because as you said, you're learning that you're not a victim. To me, it's the ultimate sovereignty. The ultimate freedom is accepting, believing, finding the truth that you are in charge of you and your interaction with your reality and the results that you get and the reality that you create, which is that.
Absolutely.
And yes, if you are your thoughts and your emotions and the behaviors that you take as a result of those, if you change those, you change.
You must change. You must. And I believe it was Einstein that said, if you're exposed to the proper frequencies, you must change. Metaphysical or mystical. It's science.
Yeah.
And so that's why you would go and have someone take an expensive piece of laser technology and expect that red light to do something to you. It's a frequency. But what people haven't fully grasped is that we have inner technology, and you haven't learned to activate it.
Yeah.
And I'm here to help do that for people till they become aware and awake enough to recognize how powerful they are, and that we've been given everything we need to heal, everything we need. Our body is a pharmacy inside of it. In fact, drugs wouldn't work if you didn't have the neuroreceptors for the drugs. So that means there's a natural drug just like it that we can turn on. And that's what happens in these states of consciousness. But it's also what happens when you think, oh my God, this horrible thing is going to happen. I'm terrified. I'm this, I'm that. And you start to turn on the various chemical reactions, and then you wonder, why do I feel stressed out? Why can't I sleep? Why can't I digest food? Why do I have insomnia? Why do I have pain? And then you look for more synthetic. We've got it all backwards, upside down and backwards.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree 100%. And I'm so happy that you are out there in the world, reaching thousands and thousands of people across the world. And it's just wonderful. So thank you for being you and doing all that you do in the world. And thank you for joining us here at the summit. My last question I'd like to leave you on, this is all about, the summit is all about helping people, or people finding a bit of information or something, accessing something that's going to take them to their next level, where they think their limitations are, taking them beyond, whether that's physical pain, whether that's emotional jail. What would, if I could ask you for one tip that people could implement today that would give them a change, a shift, what would your advice be? of all your work. And I
It's
know
tough,
that's
it's
hard.
tough to give one, so I'll give a long run-on sentence.
Yeah,
How's
great.
that? So first of all, you must take quiet time alone and begin to develop a deeper relationship with your inner world.
Mhm.
All of the answers are within you.
Mm.
Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't reach out for outside help to access that if you need it. However, don't be afraid of what is you're going to find when you listen and feel what's going on inside you. There's nothing to fear. And I can guarantee you, if you don't listen, you will end up with certain consequences that you probably won't like.
Mm.
So find someone that you trust where you feel safe and start sharing. Even if you don't think you know the answer, like just start getting it out, sharing what's going on, and spend time quietly in nature, because nature emits a healing frequency that you need, because you and I are part of nature, and yet we've lost that connection many times based on our lifestyle. So the fastest way to really reconnect with who you really are is to get quiet, do that in nature, breathe in your low belly, not your upper chest. Stop holding your breath, go deep into your low belly, which will stimulate that vagus nerve and help you feel safe and calm and relaxed. When you're safe and calm and relaxed, you're going to notice more information. You're going to notice answers and thoughts and hunches and curiosities. You're going to be more aware. And awareness is everything, everything. So take the next tiny step. You don't have to fix everything overnight. You can't. Take the next tiny step, follow your hunch, your curiosity, follow the trail of energy. And just know, just like me, I looked back many years later and realized I was guided the whole way and didn't even know it. So are you. Even your pain is a doorway into the next chapter of your life. So don't get stuck there. Go through the door, take the next step, and you're going to find a miracle for you might be right around the corner, just like it was for me.
Mm. Beautiful, beautiful, and so powerful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Deborah, I
Thank you for
appreciate
having
you
me.
greatly. I respect your work enormously. We'll, of course, put all the links to where people can find you, your website, your book, your courses will be right here on the page just below this video.
Wonderful.
So people will
Thank
know
you.
where to find you. And I encourage everyone to really delve deeper into your work because you're doing great things. Thank you,
Thank you
Deborah,
so much
for the
for
time.
having me. Thank you. I loved your questions, and thank you so much for having me be part of this beautiful project that's going to reach so many people and help so many around the world. Thank you for doing it.
Thank you. Thanks, Deborah. Take care.